Hi everybody, I'm Clint with Flatwater. We're the manufacturers of Sharkhide metal protectant as well as the other Sharkhide products. Today what we want to address is a sequence, the proper sequence to coat your pontoons with Sharkhide. Now this is more geared towards a triple log, or it can be a two log pontoon, but it's geared more towards pontoon boats as opposed to fishing boats, things like that. So what I've done here is this is sort of, if you can imagine, an aerial view of a typical triple log pontoon boat. So what we have to do is when we're applying Sharkhide, we have to balance things like how far can we travel with one wetting of the cloth, dry times, tack times. We have to balance all that out so you get the best finish. So the way we do this is we start typically at the rear of a pontoon. I start at the top rear of the pontoon, and after proper seasoning of the cloth, make sure we've got the right cloth, but once we season the cloth, we're ready to start. We never lift the cloth up. We do this entire section right here without ever lifting the cloth. So we start at one end up at the top, we slide this direction, we go past the weld seam about 6-8 inches, do a U-turn, we come right back again. And we go back and forth like this in one fluid motion. We never lift the cloth up off the pontoon. So once we've done that, now imagine that that section is wet, so now we need to move on to another section. So what we'll do is we'll dampen the cloth, just a little more product on there to replenish what we've used. Now from the rear section on this side of the boat, we'll then jump to the front half of the pontoon on the opposite side of the boat. Do it the same method. Start anywhere you want, start at the nose cone, start at the weld seam, no different. Go back and forth from top down till you get that whole section done. From there, from the second section, we'll jump to the third spot we want to do, which is typically your rear heads. If it's a triple log, 3 rear heads. If it's a 2 log, the rear heads, and you'll have a motor pod here you might want to do. From there, now we go back to the original side where we first started, but now we're going to start on this section, but we're going to start away from what we've just done. You start back at this weld seam and travel towards what you've done, overlap it by a few inches, and then head back and forth. You overlap onto this, back and forth. Keep in mind, when you start overlapping sections that you've done, you want to do them real light-handed and real quickly. We're covering roughly a 10-foot section here in about 2 to 3 seconds. So when you take off, if you count in your head 1001, 1002, by the time you hit 1003, you should be in that U-turn heading back. So we're moving at a really good clip. So after you've done the 4th section, then we jump back. This will be our 5th section we do. And then the final will be all 3 nose cones, and typically back to the first weld. Now, one thing I didn't mention is when you're doing your rear heads, it's always good to reach in as far as you can comfortably reach and do the insides of the pontoons there. That's purely optional. Some people like to climb in and do the whole boat. That's okay too. But the reason we're doing this, imagine you've just done this section. Now if we immediately started up here, this would be too tacky to overlap. So that's why we jump around. What we're doing is buying dry time. By moving around, you're allowing the previous section to dry. So that way when you do come back and overlap them, you don't have a problem. So again, typically this is the wiping pattern. We start here, we jump, this is the 2nd section. We'll come back here and do these sections. That buys time for this to dry and this to dry. Then when we're done with the 3 heads, we jump up here, we do this section, and we jump here and do this section. Now that allowed this to dry, and now we can come back and do the nose cones. So it's really pretty simple. If you just divide your boat up into sections and buy as much dry time as possible, that way you'll get a nice seamless overlap. You won't get any textured line marks or anything. So this is it. So next we're going to tackle the boat behind us, and we'll show you how to do it in the real world.